Welcome to CEC lectures. Myself Dr. Preeti Jagwani from Department of Computer Science, Aribhat College, University of Delhi. So presently in our series of operating system concepts, in our previous lecture we are done with our disk scheduling algorithms, and when we talk about this disk scheduling algorithm, so basically we are trying to cover the storage module of storage management. And within that, the another submodule which is very important is about file system interface. So when we talk about file system interface, which is actually the agenda for today, we tell that file system is one of the most critical and one of the most visible aspect of an operating system, which is visible to the user, because the user is directly dealing with the files. Each and every data of users is stored inside the file. So basically this file is nothing but an online storage of the data as well as the programs, and these files, or we can say the data and the programs which are stored inside these files, are accessed by not only by user but also by the operating system as well. Now file, if we see as an entity, is a named collection of related information, and when we talk about files, so normally we consider this collection of related information which is stored or which is recorded on a secondary storage device. Now this secondary storage device can be any type of disk drive we can say. Also this file is the smallest allotment of a logical secondary storage portion we can say, and files are actually mapped by operating system onto physical devices. So the mapping of files onto the physical devices is the responsibility of the operating system, and file system or the file system interface is one of the important modules of our operating system. So initially we have seen many of the modules or many of the responsibilities of the operating system, we can also say that. So one of them which is very important is about file system. Now when we talk about this file system actually consists of two distinct portions or two distinct parts. One is basically a collection of files which is storing the related data. Now the term here which is related is very important. Collection of files, each storing related data, that means each and every file is having a different type of related data, or that's why we can say that it is a logical collection of data. Apart from collection of file, your file system also consists of a directory structure. So that directory structure is something that organizes and provides information about all the files in the system, that where are these files stored, and many other informations, not only the location but many other informations about the stored files consist in the directory structure. So basically file system is consisting of two parts, one is the collection of files, another one is the directory structure. Now when we talk about the task of the operating system in order to manage this file system, we can say that the operating system abstracts from the physical properties of its storage devices to define a logical storage unit, that is the file. So in order to define this logical storage unit, which is the file, many physical properties of storage devices are being abstract, and this abstraction is done by your operating system. So as I have told you that this file can represent, or this file can store both the source or the object forms and the data. So all the programs in whatever format they are, whether they are source codes or they are object codes which are generated after processing on the source code, or even any data which is related to the user or related to the operating system or any other entity, or each and everything is stored inside these files. So with so much variety of the data which is being stored inside the file, these files may be of variety of types. That means these files may be of free forms such as we can say text files, or normal text files written with ASCII codes, or they may be having some rigid formats. Rigid formats, for example, we say some executable file which is stored in the form of .exe's extension, and so on and so forth. We will be soon covering all the available types, commonly available types of files. So basically when we say that it could be an object or object file, it could be a source file, or it could be a data file. So we can reframe the definition of files. We can say that a file is a sequence of bits, bytes, lines, or records. So it can contain bits, it can contain bytes in combination, it can contain some lines or records. And the meaning of a file, or meaning of the data, whatever information is being stored inside the file, is to be defined by the file's creator, or maybe the user of the file. Now it could be a source or an executable program file, it could be normal text data, it could be an image file such as a photo file, a music file, a video file, and so on. There can be various other formats also. But in order to manage with this whole system interface, or this whole file system interface, we also need to see there are various attributes which vary from one operating system to another. And what are these file attributes, and what is the importance of these file attributes, that also we have to see. These files attributes, although they may be very different from one operating system to another, but they typically, or we can say generally speaking, they consist of some basic units of information. So the first unit is the name of the file. As everyone understand, that is the as it's a kind of an identification through which the user recognizes the file. Why I am saying the user recognizes the file? Because another piece of information, or the next attribute which is available with a file, is the identifier. This identifier is actually a tag which is usually a number, and it identifies the file within the file system. Now user has nothing to do with this identifier, it is actually a non-human readable name for the file, or it is we can say the name for the file which is being used by the file system, not by the user. So one is name, which is being used by the user of the system. Another one is the identifier, which is usually used within the, or which is usually a number which identifies the file within the file system. Then we have the attribute of type. As I have told you that various types of files can be there. So information is needed for the system that what kind of file it is, so that we can say relevant treatment can be given to the file. So for example, it is if it is an executable file, it has to be run on the system, or we can say if it is a normal text file, this is to be treated into a in a different manner. So type is going to give us the information that what kind of treatment this file is expecting, or what kind of treatment this file should be given. Apart from that, we have location of the file. This is very simple, that this is an information basically which is, we can say it is a pointer to a device and to the location of the file on that particular device. So for example, we have a file which is stored on the on a disk drive on a particular cylinder number, on a particular sector number, and a particular track. So let us say X cylinder, Y sector, and Z track. So there, this location of the information is that information which is pointing towards that disk drive, and finally on the file file on that particular device. Then we have the size of the file. It could be in bytes, it could be in words, or it could be in blocks, that depends on the system. So how large is the file is very clear with the help of the size attribute. Now apart from these attributes, there are others which are very important, and one of them is protection. So protection information or protection attribute provides us the information, or determines the access control. Access control as in which particular user, or more specifically we can say which particular role can read the file, which can edit the file, which can write the file, which can execute the file, and so on and so forth. We will be also looking into these access control details in our upcoming lecture. Then we have, apart from this, we have time, date and user identification. That means at what time it is being created, the file is being created along with the date, at what time it is being modified, and the user identification. That means which is the user, or which is the role, which is who is using this particular file, or modifying this file, or accessing this file, we can say. So this time, date and user identification, why it is needed? It is actually required to keep the logs. So this information may be kept for creation, some last modification and last use. All these information can be used for protection, security and usage monitoring. So when we talk about protection and security, that means logs will also contain this information in order to see who is accessing the file and when and in which mode. So that usage monitoring can be done with the help of this piece of information. So with all these we can say attributes, which are name, identifier, type, location, size, protection and time, date, user identification, we also need to see that what all are the file operations which are permitted on a particular file. Now, why are we talking about file operation? Because in the starting of this lecture, I have told you that file is an abstract data type. Now, please recall the definition of abstract data type, which says that it is actually a general data type, which is we can say more identified with the help of what? With the help of the operations which are going to be performed on that particular data type. So, file being an abstract data type, file as it is an abstract data type, the operations which are to be performed on those files are very, very important in order to define the file properly. So, to define a file properly, we need to consider the operations that can be performed on files, and what kind of operations we are talking about is operating system is going to perform all these operations like creation of a file, writing something into a file, reading something from a file, or reading a file, we can say repositioning the pointer within the file, or deletion of a file and truncating of the files, and all these operations can be performed with the help of system calls, we can say. So, let us try to understand all these operations one at a time. First of all, let us take creation of a file. So, creation of a file is actually, as you understand, making a new file. This is done with the help of two steps. So, one is a space in the file system has to be found for the file, and another one, the entry for the new file must be made in a directory. So, first of all, a space in the file system is to be given, and then an entry for that particular new file has to be made in the directory. Then only we can say that file has been created. Now, this file is only created as of now. It has not been, we have not written anything into the file, because we have not considered the operation of writing a file. So, when we talk about writing a file, there is going to be a system call which is going to do this particular operation, and that system call of writing the file will need two attributes, as in say, or two information to be specified. One is the name of the file in which writing task is to be done, and the information to be returned to the file. So, that system call which is going to write a file needs the name of the file as well as the information to be written onto the file. Then we have what happens when we say that the name of the file is to be given to the write system call, and that file already exists because we have created the file. So, given that name of the file, the system searches the directory in order to find the file's location, and then there is a write pointer which is kept by the system onto the location in the file where the next write is to be taken place. Now for example, if it is the first write, then it is going to be the beginning of the file, or if it is not the first write operation, that means something is already being written into the file, then the location of the pointer will be the location where next write is to be taken place. Then this write pointer must be updated whenever a write occurs. So this system call, all in all, this goes with a information to be written and the file name in which it is to be written. Then this name of the file is searched, it is we can say open in the write mode, and then this write pointer has to be updated or has to be dealt accordingly according to whatever information is being written. Next, coming to the next operation, which is reading a file. Reading a file also goes with the help of a system call that specifies the name of the file which is to be read, and where that means the next block of the file should be put. So basically a system call that specifies the name of the file and where basically in the memory the next block of the file should be put. So that is what reading a file is specified. Again, whenever we are giving the name of the file, the directory is to be searched for that particular entry, and the system needs to keep a read pointer to the location in the file where the next read is to be taken place. So similarly, as we have managed, or as the operation of the writing is being managed with the help of a system call, similarly or on the similar lines, a read pointer to the location in the file where the next read is to be taken place is being managed by this read system call. And once that read has taken place, the read pointer is to be updated as we have done for the write pointer. But in order to save the space and in order to reduce the system complexity, we can say that, or there is a provision of having having the operation of reading and writing using the same pointer. So both read and write operations uses the same pointer in order to save the space and in order to reduce the time complexity. Now the next operation, apart from your creation, writing and reading, the next operation is about repositioning with the file. So repositioning with the file is done with the help of a function which is visible to the user in the form of a function named as seek. The directory is searched for the appropriate entry and the current file position pointer is repositioned to a given value. So which particular file is to be kind of repositions, or the pointer in which particular file are to be repositioned, that has to be supplied to the system. Also the we can say the new location of the file pointer. So repositioning within a file actually does not involve any actual input output, it is just positioning or relocating the file pointer, and this operation is known as file seek. So for example, we have our file pointer at the beginning of the file, and if we want to take it to the end of the file, then seek will we can say order it to become order it to position to end of file, or EOF as we say in our normal programming languages. Apart from this, we have also deleting a file. So in order to delete a file, again the search for the directory for that particular file which is to be deleted, and having found the associated or the relevant directory entry, deletion of a file takes place by releasing all the file space so that it can be used for other files, and also erasing the directory entry. Now why I am insisting on the erasing the directory entry? So not only the file space has to be released, the directory entry is also to be erased, while the next operation, which is about truncating a file, is a bit different from this deletion of a file. So here in order to truncate a file, the operation says that the user may want to erase the contents of the file, but keep all its attributes. So, rather than forcing the user to delete the file and then recreate it, this truncation of the file or this operation allows all the attributes to remain unchanged except for the file length. The earlier file length was, because it was having some material or some data, the earlier file length was, let us say, having x, but now this lets the file to be reset to the length 0 and its file space is released, but all the attributes are there. That means the directory entry has not been erased, but in deletion of the file, the directory entry was erased along with the file space. Here file space is released, the length is set to 0, but not the entry of the directory. So, with all these operations, let us try to quickly see what all file types are there which are commonly used. So, one file type could be executable. The usual extensions which are available are .exe, .com, .bin, and these are ready to run machine language programs which are to be executed onto the system directly. Then we have object files which are in the form of extensions .o or .obj. These are compiled machine languages which are not linked, basically just the compiled, not the linked one. Then we have source code file, or any program code in various languages like .c or .cc, .java, .perl or something of that sort. Then we have some bat files which are commands given to the command interpreter .bat or .sh as in shell files. Then we have some markup document files which are containing the markup data for web page designings like XML, HTML and text. Then we have word processor files, normal word processor formats like RTF, docx. Apart from that, some library files for library of routines of the program .lib, .dll, some printable files like a binary file in a format for printing or viewing like image files .jpeg or maybe PDF or .gif. Then we have archive .rar or .zip or .tar files, which are the related files grouped into one file. Basically compressed for achieving compaction on the storage. And then we also have, apart from that, multimedia files which are MPEG, MOV, MP3, AVI, MP4 and so on and so forth, which are binary file containing the audio or video information. So, all these files are there in various file types. When we talk about these, files are available in various formats. So, in this lecture what we have covered is basically your what actually a file system interface is, why it is important. Then we have seen attributes of the files which are commonly used, and commonly used types of files we have also seen. Hope you have enjoyed the lecture. Here is a list of references which is being used for the preparation. I will see you in the next lecture. Till then, goodbye.